Hello guys, so on today's video I'm going to show you how to test or troubleshoot charging system on the Italia Ultra scooter. So as you know that every time you plug in your charger to the outlet plug, it's supposed to plug in with a green light, but after you plug into the scooter, your charger is supposed to recognize scooter and switch from green to red charge light. In my case, it's not switched to a red light because the breaker switch is not on. So make sure that your breaker switch is on. So let me show you how to do that. So you open the seat by clicking a key to the left, and the seat will pop up. Right here you have a main power breaker switch. Make sure that it's on position. You will feel a resistance under your finger once it's on. Now when we look back on the charger, we see a red light. So my charging system is working fine. All of my batteries are fine, connections are fine. That's why you see red light, and the charger itself going to make a little noise because it's equipped with a fan on the back of it, cooling fan. So but let's assume that your breaker switch is on position, but your charger is still not switching to the red light. Well, the next step, you want to check if this white connector is plugged in all the way. Because if it's unplugged, this connector is actually connecting your top battery pack to the bottom battery pack. They sit on the top of each other, two battery packs. So if this connector is unplugged, the system will not work. As you can see on my charger, it's green again. But as soon as I'm going to replug it, it's going to make little spark, so don't worry about that, that's normal. By the way, there is only one way how you can install it. You're going to see this notch right here, and it's going to align with the male and female side.
The notch again?
Yes, right here on the melee.
It hasn't, it's a turn auto zoom.
So we plug it in back, it might create little spark, and the charger will automatically switch to the red light because everything is working again. Now another reason why charger might not switch to the red light, because you either have a loose connection at this L-shaped plug. So make sure that you have a good steady connection. Maybe this L-shaped plug is defective. But if your scooter is new, I don't think that would be a reason, because everything was tested at the factory. So maybe it just got unplugged from the shipping, or you were not plugged in all the way. So if it's unplugged, it's going to be green also, as you can see. Now, after you tested that and inspect both plugs, white color plug, the female and male, and you already inspected the L-shaped plug, with male and female, and you don't see anything wrong with those two plugs, it might be the problem that you have a loose wire inside of the one of the battery packs, either the upper battery pack or the lower one. So you will need to remove both of them and inspect it. Even if you will be inspecting it, doesn't mean that it could not be a problem with one of the batteries. So my advice, to get yourself a multimeter that you can inspect each battery so you can test voltage. Because if one of the batteries is defective, most likely you will see lower voltage on that particular faulty battery than in other batteries. So if you will have a multimeter, you will need to set for the 200 settings, for example, because this is a 60 volt battery pack, and in this situation it could be a problem that, like, if you don't see a red charging light on the charger, you can suspect faulty charger or maybe faulty batteries. So this is how you find out if your batteries are producing any voltage. You put your settings on 200 and test those two prongs inside of the female plug and look at the display. And right now I'm touching those two prongs, and look at the display. It's going to show 63 volts, 0.4, which is telling me that my battery pack is producing good voltage. There is no problem with my battery pack. So even if your battery is undercharged and you see on the display only 50 volts, that will explain that your battery is undercharged, but maybe the charger is faulty. Now, you might think that let's test the charger if it's actually producing any voltage at the plug. Unfortunately, because this is a smart charger, you cannot just insert two probes into the plug and see if it's any voltage there, because this charger is only producing voltage only when it's detecting the actual batteries, and I will show you later how and what I mean by that. I cannot plug in this and show you because there's no room to test it right here, so I will have to open the lid and show you what I mean. So let's do that. I'm going to open the lid so you can see how I'm going to test if the charger is producing proper voltage as written on the back of the charger. So I'm going to remove a couple screws. Now this would be the procedure how to find out if the charger is actually sending proper voltage numbers, or maybe it's undercharging those batteries. Maybe a charger is producing only 25 volts instead of 60. So you will open this lid. Now we follow this orange wire and the black one. So the orange wire going here and the black one is going here. Now if I'm going to touch those two, if I'm going to touch those two battery terminals with my multimeter, it's going to show me the same voltage as I've been showing you here when I've been touching, which is a 60, 63, 64 volts. So let's see. Well, there you go, 63.5. Now watch this. I'm holding those probes with my one hand, and you see the numbers, and with my other hand I'm going to plug in my charger, and you look at the display if the numbers are going to change or not. So I'm plugging in right now. My charger started to work, and look at my numbers. They are raising 64.2, 64.3, 64.4, and it's going to go 64.5, so 64.6. So that means that my charger is working fine. As soon as I unplug the charger, 64.7 as you can see, as soon as I unplug the charger, the voltage will drop to the steady 64 or 63 volts, because numbers will not raise. They will go down only and will be steady later on. So now we know that charger is producing proper voltage, which is says on the back of the charger that is going to produce between 60 and 73 volts at the peak. So it's going to send the signal between 60 and 73 volts. This charger is a smart charger, so it will know how many volts to send. Sometimes if the batteries are completely discharged, it might send more than 60 volt or more than 65 volt at a time. It might send all the way up to 73 volts. So it will do it automatically on its own. Now we tested the charger and we know the charger is working fine, but this is in my case. So we see the red light and the voltage is raising. So in your case, if you if you still don't see a red light on the charger, you will need to test each battery individually, at least with the basic multimeter like this one. Now this test will not be that accurate and cannot prove if the battery is defective or not. So I'm touching each battery and we can see a real voltage. This battery is 12.6, which is good. Now if we open this cap and touch the second battery, we're going to see 12.6, which is also good. And we're going to touch the number 3 battery and this upper pack, 12.6. So all 3 batteries sending a good proper voltage, and I don't have any problem with that. The first indication if you have a problem with battery will be lower voltage than other batteries. For example, if you see 11 volt in this one and this one 12.6 and 12.6, then you know this needs to be replaced. But this is not always the case, because batteries could be pretty deceiving if you will rely only on the voltage itself, because each battery is producing voltage and amperage. So there is a 12 volt in each battery. That's what they call them, 12 volt. In reality, you have 13 volts when they are fully charged up. But also each battery has 20 amp. So if the amperage is lower than supposed to be, like instead of 20 you have only 12 or 10 amp, this will explain that why you have such a short driving distance on your scooter. Or maybe that's why the charger is not switching from green to red light, because of that one defective battery that needs to be replaced. Now, for more accurate testing, you will need a battery analyzer that will detect and tell you how much life left in each battery. This type of a tool or similar would be the special dedicated testing equipment to test each battery and tell you how much life left in each battery. Other words, how many amps left in each battery. And I will show you example how to test one of the batteries. For the best result, you will need to remove wires that are connecting batteries between each other. And you will need this screw back so you can clamp your alligator clip into the terminal. Now, so once you remove those two wires, put them on the side, and now we can set this tool. So positive to positive, negative to negative. Now, the tool will be asking you if you're going to test the battery. You have to choose battery. I'm showing you as an example. There is different type of tools on the market, so you don't have to buy or rely on this particular one. This particular tool is testing equipment going to ask what's the temperature of the battery. So we put 20 Celsius, for example, and then amperage rating, and we're going to, it says 7 amp, so we're going to raise it to 20 amp because our battery is set for 20 amp. I hope you can see it through that camera, because sometimes the resolution might be not that great. So I push enter, and I'm going to test the battery right now, and we'll see the result. Okay, so our battery is showing that it's 12.7 volt. You remember the previous reading was 12.6. So there is a little off between two testing equipment. Maybe this one is more accurate. It also depends on the battery of which is built inside of the multimeter. If the battery is low, it might not be that accurate. So anyway, 12.7, which is more or less the same as we had. The battery is 95% charged up, which needs to be topped off. And then we see on the bottom that says how many amps we have. We have 15.3, which is a factory manufacturer them, and they set each battery as a 20 amp. And when the battery is going to be fully charged up, your amperage might raise up to 17. But if you testing your battery and you see only 2 or 3 amp, that's already automatically means that your battery is defective. Even though the voltage might be high, but the amp is low, that's automatically no go. So you know that you need to replace that battery. Now, the last part that I wanted to show is how to charge those batteries when you are going to store your scooter for the winter, because of if you don't have a garage, or even if you have a garage but the garage is not heated, you want to prevent those batteries from getting frozen, because they can handle no more than -10 Celsius. So That's why this particular scooter, oops, I'm sorry, that was a big, I should warn you about this and turn off the breaker switch when I reconnect the wire. Yeah, every time you're going to reconnect without turning off the breaker switch is going to make a little spark. I did not expect to do this because usually I'm more careful by turning off the main breaker switch. Now, we're going to put everything back, just 1 second, because we will need to lift up that battery and that lid must be attached. So, if you're planning to remove battery for the winter time, to keep them inside of your house, you still need to recharge those batteries periodically, like every 3-4 weeks, because it's natural for batteries to lose energy over time. So you will need to unplug this white plug that comes from the top battery and this L-shaped plug that comes from the scooter, and now you can lift up your battery pack. As you can see, I put it right here. And now we have exactly the same battery pack on the bottom, just lifting it up. So this battery pack have 2 batteries inside, and this battery pack has 3 batteries inside. I'm not going to open and show you any of that because you already seen on this sample. And when you charging batteries, they work in series, so you will have to plug in them to each other, and then with your charger you don't need to plug into the scooter anymore. You just plug in directly to the top battery, which is right here, and then now you see the red light. After it's done charging, it's going to switch back to the green mode as a standby mode. I would not recommend to leave it unattended because it has a cooling fan, and just for your safety, after it's done finish, unplug it from the outlet and you're good to go. Without having plug in, charger will not start charging because it's only one battery. So it has to be 2 of them, as you can see. Now, and the last, you remember when I've been showing you how to test your batteries right here. Maybe it's going to be more clear for you. Now we see the display, which is saying 60, almost 64 volts. That's how it's supposed to be. Now you might think that if you unplug it here, you're going to have the same voltage. You are not going to see any voltage here from this battery pack because it's connected in series with this battery. But you're supposed to see voltage at this plug, and if your lower battery pack is good, you're supposed to see at least 25 volts, and that's what we have. You will not see any voltage here because it's not in series, but only with the lower battery pack. Well, that's all for now, guys. This would be the how to test each the charging system on this scooter. Unless you checked everything and everything is working properly, the last would be to check if your charging port is actually not broken. All of those pins are straight, nothing is melted, and maybe it's just the charging port plug is unplugged from the behind of this plastic cover. So you will need to remove it by removing this couple of screws, 10mm screws, and inspect it. Let me show you real quick. And just lifting it up. Only have 2 more on the bottom. I'm sorry, I missed. There is 2 more on the bottom of the. There you go. So put on the side. You cannot really put on the ground because you have a breaker switch connected, so those wires are going to hold you. But the point is to check if the back of the charging port is plugged in, because if it's loose like this, then nothing is going to work. So make sure that nothing is bent, no melting pins, and you're all good. You can also check the continuity from this to that, from one end to another end if you have a multimeter. But this is it for now. Thank you guys. Bye.